Hi everyone, this is Wine 103, and this is all about your general thinking processes and behavior while you're doing a very simple wine tasting. And so I'm going to start with first your thoughts and your philosophy. You should, instead of having I got to get these sales totals philosophy, start your wine tasting with, I have to represent this brand in the best possible light I can philosophy. And here's what happens. If you are in I gotta get these sales philosophy, I, as a wine consultant who's also working in this business, will start to hear stories percolate to me that people are avoiding you and walking all the way around because you're too aggressive and they don't want to deal with that. Or that people will refuse to come to your consultation table because you're doing things like, here, what do you want? Do you want another bottle? Here's another bottle. Or they'll, instead of doing what I taught you guys in Wine Salesmanship 101, which was, hey, you're welcome, if you love one of these bottles, you're welcome to take it off my table. Completely different perspective here when I'm asking the question about, hey, would you like one of these bottles? Versus, hey, take a bottle. Do you want it? And it's a completely different attitude on the face and on the nonverbal communication as well. So take the am I representing this product's brand beautifully approach instead of the am I getting the sales totals I need approach. It does help. Second, your behavior when you're actually selling wine. I would like to turn this also your behavior in the aisles, in that you can and should help customers in the wine section. And I would recommend that you use questions in order to aid that process. So questions that you can use are things like, anything I can do to help you, or any product that I can help you find, or do you need any advice on particular wine in the section, or anything that I can help you with right now to meet your needs. However you frame that question, you can add on questions to each other. So if they say, no, I'm just browsing, well, you can add on a question to that to say, hey, can I offer you any advice or any tips on wine, for example. And typically, that's rule number one, ask questions when you're helping people in the aisle. And I also want to add rule number two to that, which is don't just sell your product. If they're clearly not interested in anything you had, don't bring them to the table. Offer them advice on some other products that you know are good and that you've had in that section. People appreciate it when they know that you're capable of actually broadening their perspective beyond just what you're supposed to be paid for at that event. Your job is that event, and you really should spend 90% of your time behind your table repping your product. But part of your job in repping your product is building your overall trust and how customers and guests trust you. And if they trust you a lot, then they'll come up to you and say things like, why do you always have good wine? Or they'll come up to you and say things like, I really appreciate you doing this, instead of walking away. And part of building that trust is actually representing and recommending other products to customers as well as your own. All right, that's two rules on there. There's one more rule when dealing with customers in the aisle. When you know you can help some customers, the rule is you want to hide your wines and you want to see if you can bring them back. But at the same time, what's key to all of this is notice their nonverbals. Some people and some guests will give you a clear cutoff where they're like, I don't want anything to do with you right now. And if they do that, your best bet is to just say, okay, hey, I got a great wine tasting today. If you want to stop by, feel free. I'm not going to put any pressure on you. I'm going to go back and do the tasting. Some phrase like that, or just saying, hey, if you want to stop by, I got a great wine tasting, and leave it at that, is the way you get out of that situation where a customer is clearly just not into you at that moment. So that's tips for dealing with customers in the aisle. You do want to also spend some time to direct them to other places they need and be super helpful, because the more helpful you are, the more they trust you and the more they're willing to buy wine from you. But at the same time, consider this third party behavior. You're there to represent your brand, your wine. If you're running all over the place, you're not representing your brand, your wine. You're being paid at that moment to represent your brand. So if you spend way too much time with customers building their trust in you and not representing your brand at all, then you're actually not doing your job. So it's this balancing point. It's this balancing point between representing and helping customers and building their trust in you so that they want to participate with you in the future when they see you there, and actually being there to be the brand ambassador and showcasing the best of the brand that you are there to do. Anyway, I hope this was helpful. This is some basics on behavior. I'll see what I can do to continue more on behavior and salesmanship and selling points in the next video. Thank you.